Let's make one thing crystal clear before we begin, folks. Batman is terrifying. I mean, in a world with immortal gods, all-powerful aliens, unknowable magic, and boundless technology, Bruce Wayne has become one of the most intimidating and formidable combatants on the planet. Constantly surrounded by all manner of beings more powerful than he is, Batman is undeniably one of the most respected, most feared, and unbelievably successful forces for good the universe has ever seen. And he's done all of this without the help of superpowers or magic. Granted, he's one of the wealthiest men on the planet, but even on the far-flung intergalactic stage where dollars and cents mean diddly squat, Batman's name and symbol hold incredible weight and authority. All of this goes to say what's already known. Batman is one of the scariest people on Earth. But now that DC has jumped aboard the already crowded multiversal bandwagon that's been gaining steam in recent years, we've been steadily introduced to more and more interdimensional Batmen. And after seeing all these extraversal Dark Knights, one thing has become increasingly obvious. Batman isn't one of the scariest people on the planet. No, Batman is one of the most terrifying forces of nature in the multiverse. Today we're going to meet one of these interdimensional Cape Crusaders, but don't worry, the Red Death is just about the most frightening and not to mention powerful Bruce Wayne in any universe, and you'll soon see why. Number 1. Birth of the Red Death. The first thing you need to know about the Red Death is that he originates from a place called the Dark Multiverse. A little on the nose, I know, but the idea behind the Dark Multiverse is anything but straightforward. Take the normal multiverse, for example, which is filled with millions of healthy, albeit occasionally odd universes. In many ways, the Dark Multiverse functions exactly the same way, except for one supremely important difference. The universes contained inside the Dark Multiverse are all perverse and warped to the point where they're all physically unstable. These universes contain so much depravity and pain that they quite literally dissolve and deconstruct themselves due to their demented and unbalanced nature. It's from one of these dark verses, Earth -52 in fact, that the Red Death calls home, and even for the Dark Multiverse, it's pretty messed up. The story goes that Batman of Earth -52 lost everyone and everything he cared about a second time. As we all know, after the deaths of his mother and father, Batman spent years training his mind and body to become the savior Gotham needed. But something unexpected happened when he finally put his plan into place and became the prolific Batman. With the introduction of not one, not two, but 4 Robins, 3 Batgirls, and a whole host of other Bat-themed vigilantes by his side, Bruce found himself part of a loving, tight-knit family again. Now, so far, the tale matches up with the Prime Universe's Batman pretty squarely, but here's where things go off the rails. On Earth -52, all of Bruce's newly found Bat family die, taken one by the black hole of hate and despair that is Gotham City, instilling in Bruce not only a deep-set rage, but a cold, dispassionate brutality that no longer worries about the distinction between judge, jury, and executioner. Distraught, desperate, and grieving, the Dark Universe's Dark Knight became fixated on the one power in the cosmos that could help him get his family back: the illustrious Speed Force. The first we see of the -52's Batman, he's actively hunting down the Flash with the combined arsenal of the Scarlet Speedster's Rogue Gallery. Flash begs with his old friend, "We shouldn't be fighting. Time is running out. You're the smartest person I know. This is bigger than either of us. We have to do something before it's too late." But in classic Batman fashion, the Cape Crusader has made up his mind. "As usual, you're already late, Flash. It's time you let someone else have the Speed Force." It's revealed as the two heroes argue between each other that Bruce originally came to Barry asking for his help, but Barry, who knows the cost of using the Speed Force, refused. "Batman, I told you, I won't give you the Speed Force. I've lost people I've loved too, but..." Barry starts before he's interrupted by an enraged Batman. "Then you should understand. If you don't help me willingly, I'll make you." Which is unfortunately exactly what Bruce proceeds to do. Although Flash certainly holds his own against the Bat during their battle, once Batman has made up his mind, there's precious little anyone else can do to keep him from his goal. After feigning defeat for a moment, injecting Barry with a cryostasis formula gives Batman time to get the finishing blow on his old friend. When Barry wakes, he finds himself tied to the hood of a souped-up Batmobile as Bruce, who's gone full mad scientist, attempts to unlock the powers of the Speed Force by driving his Batmobile spliced with a cosmic treadmill at full speed towards oblivion. "God!" Barry screams when he comes to. "What are you doing?" Batman, steel-faced as always, responds only with, "The mistake I made when I vowed to my parents that I would save Gotham is that I was thinking too small. I should have promised to save the world." Now, already it's clear that Bruce's mind has been warped and twisted by pain and grief beyond recognition. The Batman we all know and love would be supremely hesitant to assign too much power to one person, especially if that person was himself. But Loss has a way of second-guessing even the wisest of decisions. As Bruce and Barry hurtle forth into the Speed Force, Flash begs one final time. You can't access the Speed Force this way. You can't force it. It'll rip us both apart. As the skin is ripped from his bones, the Flash hears Batman respond simply, I know. And so, from the merger of a deranged Batman and the Flash came the Red Death. When Bruce returned to consciousness, he set about killing all of the rogues of Gotham that he had toiled against for so long. Yet, with each step that Bruce takes down this blood-soaked path, he can hear the echo of Barry Allen somewhere deep down inside begging him to stop. Though, if anything, the Red Death was only getting started. Soon after the birth of this Scarlet Knight, fellow multiversal Wayne, the Batman who laughs, appeared to the Red Death and invited him on an extra-dimensional field trip of mayhem and malevolence. The Red Death accepted and was taken under the wing of the dreaded Barbados, the ringmaster of interdimensional villains. Number 2. Welcome to the world. Eventually, with all the other warped and horrific reflections of Bruce Wayne, the Red Death arrived onto the prime material plane, followed quickly by none other than the horrible Barbados himself. Acting as one of this dark god's horsemen of the apocalypse, the Red Death wasted no time in making himself known when he arrived on the scene. For one, he assisted his evil siblings in taking down Cyborg, crippling the League's resident electronics specialist and gaining control of the Watchtower in one swift blow. But this was only a tactical strike. The Red Death's passion project would take root in the well-tread streets of Central City, home to the one and only fastest man alive. 3 days after traveling to the Prime Universe, the Red Death made his way to Central City and quickly sought out Iris and Wally West. The Flash's family, his love, and his sidekick. The Red Death stews darkly to himself as he rushes towards Iris and Wally. Don't you hurt them. The Barry trapped inside the Red Death warns before yelling out hysterically, Iris, run! As he's forced helplessly to watch his own powers used against the ones he loves. Though it seems the Red Death's powers have altered from just simply those that the Flash wields. As Wally and Iris draw closer to the Red Death, suddenly their skin begins to wrinkle and their bones grow brittle and weak inside their bodies. When Iris turns back to Wally, she sees that he's aged almost an entire lifetime in a matter of seconds. Something is wrong with the Speed Force. I'm so slow. Wally manages weakly before Iris reaches him. However, even as Wally's aunt rushes to his side, her own hair begins to gray as the same bleak transformation begins to affect Iris as well. Flash arrives both angry and confused. I don't know who the hell you think you are, Flash warns his strange reflection, but there won't be any sacrifices in my city. As the two speedsters take off across town, Flash soon begins to realize this isn't any run-of-the-mill race he's engaged in. Everything hurts. Feel old, Barry says as he stumbles to a halt. But even as Barry begins to beg the extra-dimensional Bruce to come back from the brink, the insignia of Dr. Fate arrives and the Flash is whisked off to safety, leaving the Red Death to celebrate his triumph, promising swift and terrible vengeance on the Flash when next they meet. Go ahead. Run, Barry. Run. It won't save you, the Red Death yells out into the streets. We'll fight again, Flash. Barbados foretold the end of our story. I will turn Central City into the home I lost and save my Gotham. It seems, alongside inheriting the Flash's connection to the Speed Force, turning evil also gave Bruce a penchant for menacing evil monologues. When a desperate Flash returned to his hometown, he found Central City in ruins. The energy from the Red Death's Speed Force had affected everyone inside, aging the entire population into a helpless and feeble state. Things went from bad to worse when, not seconds after the Flash returned to his city, the floor underneath his feet crumbled and he was thrown into an underground labyrinth of the Red Death's own design. Remember, even though he's got Flash's powers now, this is still a man who loves his Batcaves. Trapped underneath his city in a maze of his enemy's design, the Flash finds himself running for his life against an opponent every bit as fast as he. Soon, though, Barry realizes the true nature of the Red Death's twisted racetrack when the sand beneath his feet begins to move. Seeing his opponent's confusion, the Red Death can't help but elaborate. It's not really sand, the Twisted Bruce explains. It's nanotech, millions of microcells that respond to my own vibrational commands. At that, the sand cells begin to coalesce into a great spiral. More like an hourglass, Barry, mocks Red Death from the sidelines as Flash struggles to get his bearings in an ever-changing landscape. When the dust settles, the Red Death sits in the driver's seat of an extremely garish race car. You like her, Barry? It used to take me months to build these, now I can do it in seconds. says Red Death as Barry stops short. I killed you once before, Barry. Another universe, but same you. This time won't be any different. Barry takes a moment to consider his options. You would have a Flashmobile, he retorts back. Then, more confidently, I can outrun any car you build. Red Death chuckles at this. Come on, Barry. You know me better than that. I'm a billionaire. I never build just one car. And with that, a swarm of Speed Force-powered Flashmobiles rev their engines in unison and take off, trying to reduce the Scarlet Speedster to mere super-powered roadkill. There are many obvious benefits to accessing the Speed Force that anyone would enjoy, but for Batman, it gives one of the sharpest minds alive access to a nearly unlimited time frame. In short, Batman has access to the speed required to create, build, and perfect any invention or piece of machinery within mere minutes. For a brilliant tactical mind like Bruce's, who was already 10 steps ahead of the competition, the speeds at which his body and mind can now process information ensure that the Red Death is 10 million steps ahead before his opponent has even heard the starting pistol. Within the confines of the Red Death's hourglass of horrors underneath Central City, the Flash runs faster than he has ever before, his every step nearly eaten by the grinding, screaming metal that races behind him. Eventually, the Flash was driven to exhaustion, whereas the wheel-borne Red Death had barely broken a sweat. At last, bound and delivered with the other members of the Justice League, all hope seemed truly extinguished. But with some fancy maneuvers from Cyborg and his immensely powerful Mother Box technology, the team was able to escape from their chains. The Justice League and the Dark Knights of the multiverse clashed at once. The heroes desperately attempt to escape their captors, while the villains understand the importance of keeping their captives locked away. As Cyborg frees his fellow teammate Raven from a cage of her own, the newly freed Justice League is able to carve out just enough space for Victor to boom tube their allies away from harm's way. The Dark Knights are forced to watch as their quarry teleports right from under their noses. And at that moment, as the Flash is whisked off with the rest of his teammates, both Barry and the Red Death understand that their next meeting will be their last. Number 3. The Last Lap. The Red Death's final race came during an attempt to breach and destroy the Ultima Thule, an omnidimensional vessel that the League was using to help Raven communicate and soothe the multiversal havoc being caused by Barbados' forces. As the Dark Knights pile into the portal to stop Raven's efforts, the Flash slips behind their backs to dismantle the infant Dark Universe the villains are using as a power source. Guarding the baby universe is Merciless, one of the terrible Bruce Waynes from another verse. Though Merciless is a formidable opponent, he is no match for Flash, who manages to sabotage the baddie's battery in the literal blink of an eye, short-circuiting one of the most volatile and dangerous power sources in the multiverse faster than his opponent could even perceive. You fool! Merciless rages after realizing that Barry has pulled the wool over his eyes. Do you realize the energy it takes to hold a universe in infancy? What will happen when it's unleashed? Flash smiles back at the monster. Of course I do. I'm a superhero scientist. It's at this point that the Red Death, presumably realizing that Barry had outmaneuvered him, races onto the scene as fast as his Speed Force-empowered legs would carry him. Not so fast, he says as his arms close around the Flash's neck. But as Barry so aptly points out, Red Death, predictably late. Just at that precise moment, the baby universe Barry had sabotaged explodes with a crash, sending the three combatants careening to the ground. As the three figures began picking themselves up from the floor, the Red Death stirs slowly. My God, he manages from one knee. What's happened to me? The Flash, hoping this little plan would have caused this chain reaction, explains, you just got hit by the pure positive energy of creation. It just shifted your polarity, reversed you. With that, standing before the Flash is no longer a dark and sickly figure clad in red and black, but a man adorned in shining golden armor who says, Barry, I'm Barry Allen. Bruce, he's gone. Oh God, the screaming rage. Held captive inside the Red Death's psyche for so long, the Barry Allen of Earth -52 finally retakes control of not only his body, but his Speed Force. Suddenly, wheeling around towards the Flash, he continues, Bruce is insane. All of them insane. How do I fix this? The Flash stares at the golden doppelganger looking back at him and says, we're standing at the edge of infinity, doing our best to prove that it still means something to be a hero. We can start right here in this room. Let's see what the Flash facts sound like in stereo. As the two speedsters run towards the rising Merciless, two fists collide at super speed with the monster's armored chin. After Barry and his twin from another verse take down Merciless, the rest of the Dark Knights return to their base. The speedster formerly known as Red Death valiantly tells the Flash to save himself while the alternate Barry prepares to face down his former teammates. "There's always a sacrifice, Flash. Go. Go, Barry!" The golden speedster yells as Barry summons a door to bring him to safety. But no sooner does the Batman Who Laughs arrive than Barry's time in the sun comes to a sudden and unceremonious end.
"Red Death!"
The Batman Who Laughs cackles as he sees his evil speedster's transformation.
"Well done, traitor. You played your part. You gave them one last taste of hope."
As the Laughing Bat monologues, Golden Death understands something to be seriously awry.
"You realize, of course, I expected this weakness from you. You were only ever really half a Batman, so you only knew half the plan."
As his former boss talks, alternate Barry begins to feel something twinge inside of him, a pain he'd never felt before.
"You can feel what it's like to be a being of darkness charged with positive energy, how it's ripping you to shreds. Every missile lobbed at the Ultima Thule carried a baby universe handpicked by Barbados. Dark baby universes. You realize what this means, of course."
And no sooner has the Batman Who Laughs finished his soliloquy that Barry, ever the scientist, begins to understand what the pain in his chest is. It's the very fabric of the universe ripping him apart from the inside out.
"No!"
Barry screams as the positive energy inside of him eats away at the rotted, darkened interior until there is nothing left. The man who was formerly the Red Death explodes into a cascading torrent of lightning and energy. His former teammates watch him deconstruct without a word for their lost comrade as the Red Death once and for all is erased from the very calculus of the multiverse, never to run another step again. Though the Bruce Wayne of Earth-52 was never able to pull himself from the darkness that he became consumed by, the Red Death's better half was eventually able to win the day and give the amalgamated character some meager form of redemption. If there's anything that the story of the Red Death showed us, it's that the Speed Force in the wrong hands can be the singular most terrifying force in the entire universe. And perhaps more blatantly, it shows us how important it is for Batman to keep his mental health in check. Because when the guy loses it, he really loses it. Ultimately, though, like all of the Dark Knights of the multiverse, the Red Death represents one of Batman's most primal, carnal fears made real. Batman, having lost one family as a child, simply does not have it in himself to lose another. He can't bear the weight of the responsibility he feels after seeing his children die one after another. In the Red Death's universe, Batman blames that loss on his inability to be everywhere at once. Bruce blamed the inevitable deceleration that comes with aging for his own failure to save his family, so he sought out something that could ensure he would never be too late again. In the Red Death, we see Bruce's burning, inconsolable grief and his deep-set fear of his own time running out made incarnate in one of the most terrifying speedsters the DC Universe has ever witnessed. Well, that does it for this video. Thank you so much for watching our video recapping the Red Death. We really hoped you enjoyed it. Did you have any other favorite evil speedsters? And which of them do you think the Red Death could beat in a race? I've been Morse Code, and on behalf of everyone here at Plot Armor Comics, we hope you have a wonderful day.